Hello, friends, and welcome to this special edition of the Gaytheist Manifesto. I've been throwing out bits and pieces on Facebook about some struggles I've been having lately, and I feel like I might be sort of crawling my way back into normalcy again, and I just wanted to sort of share where I've been at. Since vulnerability is kind of my thing, and I feel like there's gotta be stuff in here that you might relate to, even if not all of it. Sometimes I feel like a chameleon. I have this amazing ability to disguise myself as someone who's doing okay. It's a talent I have pretty conflicted feelings about. One of the reasons I hesitate to take on the label of depression or anxiety is because one of the defining characteristics of the clinical kind is that it's maladaptive, right? Like, does it stop you from living your life in the way you want to? And the answer for me is yes, it does, but not exactly. I rarely ever decide to not do something because I'm depressed or anxious about it. I'll go do the thing. I'll just spend most of the time I'm doing it freaking out, scared out of my mind. And this happens reliably every time I go someplace new or with a crowd I'm unfamiliar with. I always have my head on a swivel for someone who's going to decide a trans person doesn't belong in that particular space or bathroom or the world. It's not yet happened to me in majorly significant ways, but there've been the snide comments, the disgusted looks, the stares, the whispering and pointing. But all it takes is one person, one time to decide I don't belong. I went to dinner and karaoke with some coworkers the other night. Restaurant I've never been to, bar I've never been to, and bars generally aren't my scene anyways, but it sounded fun and I really do love the group of coworkers I went with. And there were enough of them that I felt relatively safe. Like if shit went south, this is a group of people who'd have my back. So I went and I did have fun. I even got up in front of the bar and butchered a little Michael Bublé, but there was always this undercurrent. And I don't know if the people I was with could see it or not. I felt like I did a pretty good job of hiding how nervous I was. This was a sort of redneck bar in the town I grew up in. And the town that I grew up in is quintessentially Ohio. Like, Ohio's the definitive swing state, right? So you never know who you're going to run into. It could be the radical who's ready to punch a transphobe in the face to defend you, or it could be the guy who'd like to run me over with his comically huge truck with the gun rack and the Trump stickers on the back. You just never know. My mind has been such a jumbled mess of feelings lately. I described this a little bit in a Facebook post I made a few weeks ago. I'm a person who tends to fixate on things. Like, I'll get interested in this new thing and think about it a lot. And if this thing happens to involve becoming a part of a community, there's all kinds of new anxiety that goes along with it. I've been talking a lot, for example, about my new love for roller skating lately. I just randomly got invited to go by my supervisor and a few coworkers, and I thought, sure, that sounds like a fun diversion. But I went and I actually really loved it, and realized that I was at least kind of good-ish at it, even though I hadn't really skated since I was a kid. I had my weight loss surgery over a year ago, and I'm kind of past the point where exercise on its own is interesting to me. So I'd been thinking I needed to find a sport to play to stay active and in shape. And when I figured out I loved roller skating, I thought, shit, this is perfect. Roller derby. I'd known from talking to some friends that roller derby is in general a pretty cool place to be queer and trans. I did some research and found that most roller derby leagues are explicitly trans inclusive. This is fucking awesome. But also, people are involved. So what will I run into there? I've spent enough time in the atheist community to understand who's cool to hang out with and who isn't, at least to some degree. Or if nothing else, I have enough mutuals that when I have questions about someone, there's gotta be someone who knows, right? But if I end up in this community, I'm a newcomer. I know basically no one, so I won't be on the inside. I won't be part of the Whisper Network. I won't be in the know. Will I get there before I deal with the wrong person? I saw a friend post on Facebook the other day about this dude who was booted from his roller derby league for sexual harassment. His team in their next match all painted the dude's number on them to stand in solidarity with him. Fucking really? And it makes me not want to get involved because I have to figure out the nuances of navigating an entirely new community of people who I know nothing about and don't really have any relationships with people on the inside to give me the scoop. So it makes me not even want to bother. Like, I'll just go to the skating ring with my friends from work and maybe a skate park or something on occasion. But other than that, I don't even want to fuck with people anymore. And while that's obviously an understandable feeling, generally speaking, it's utterly fucking foreign to me. I'm the walking definition of a people person. Right? Like, I want all the friends and all the hugs and all the community. Having to recoil from that impulse for my own safety is a contradiction of the heart of who I am as a person. fuck. Literally at the beginning of this, I said I didn't really know where these feelings were coming from. And I literally just put two and two together and figured this out. I've had so many instances lately of people I thought I knew turning out to be shitty, and more still people I thought I knew turning up to defend and make excuses for shitty people. You know, I'm pretty well connected in the atheist community. I know at least to some degree who I can and can't trust and the right people to ask questions of. I don't want to start that process over in some new community, but like I want to do the thing. I want to play roller derby. I want to get involved in the skating community because I've seen so many people talk so glowingly about their experiences in those spaces. I want to be a part of it too. But cynical Callie takes over and wonders if I'll have the bad side of those experiences instead. I'll step out on a ledge and get hurt. When I got into podcasting, I was kind of blissfully unaware of all of this, and I lucked into friendships with the right people that sort of got me the inside scoop on who to trust and who not to. And I kind of learned how to navigate those situations before I knew that was a thing I'd need to figure out, if that makes sense. It made me a more touchy and sensitive person in so many ways. Like, I've had so much going on in life, it's hard to nail this stuff down to any one experience, good or bad. Like, I've had 2 major surgeries in the last year and a half, so my body's still kind of healing from that trauma. I felt a sense of personal betrayal by several folks I thought I could trust who turned out to be shitty. But I've also had so many emotional highs. I've just kind of been on this roller coaster. And I've been having these sort of manic episodes sometimes. And I realize I may be misusing that in the clinical sense, but it's the only word I really have to describe the feeling. Like, I'll get it in my head, I want to clean the house or do laundry or something, and I absolutely fixate. I get obsessed and I can't stop even when it's done. Like, I'll lay out a to-do list that's a mile long. I'll knock out every fucking thing on the list, look at the completed list, and I can't come down from that anxious feeling that I have so much to do and I'll never get it done and bad things will happen because I can't get stuff done. It's so irrational. I'm literally looking at my completed to-do list and I still can't shake that nervous, anxious, shaky feeling that I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off and I'll never catch up or get anything done. I'm more sensitive to sounds than I used to be too. And I'm a super auditory person anyways. My other senses are just average, but I have very good ears. And this has turned lately into a very rough relationship with certain sounds. I used to be that asshole that would scratch their nails on a chalkboard because I thought it was funny that it bothered other people. I'm not proud of that, but like I did used to be like that. And now I'm ridiculously sensitive to those kinds of sounds. Teeth chattering together, fingernails tapping each other, repetitive scratching or tapping noises, repetitive noises of any kind, actually, aside from music, of course. Even turn signals annoy me because they don't stay in the beat with the music I'm listening to. My friend Vonda made me aware of the term misophonia. It's not in the DSM, but it's been suggested as a term to describe a strong sort of clinical level aversion to certain sounds. Like, sometimes they literally trigger a fight or flight response for me. Like, if I can't make the sound stop immediately, I have to get away and leave the room. It's weird and I don't like it. I've been thinking a lot about death lately too, and I want to be clear, it's not in the way of like wanting to die or hurting myself or anything like that. I've just been dwelling a lot on the idea that like I could jump in my car and get hit by a fucking semi-truck on the way to work and that's it. I never did feel that feeling of invincibility that some people do. Like, that stuff only happens to other people, that won't happen to me. Like, I definitely always accepted and acted as if bad things very much could happen to me, but I'm not sure I completely internalized that thought until lately. And maybe at this point I've internalized it a bit too much. Like, the idea of not existing anymore fucking terrifies me. I feel like that's a tough thing to admit as an atheist. Like, if what I believe to be true about the universe actually is true, I have nothing to be scared of, right? When I don't exist anymore, I can't suffer the loss of my own existence. But that doesn't stop me from being terrified by the prospect. I mean, I even read somewhere there's some evidence that in some situations, the body's reaction to dying is to cause your body to release chemicals that make you feel good. And I have no idea if that's actually true. And I guess without significant advances in technology, it's not really a thing we even can know. But even knowing all of that, like, if it's true, it still scares me. Despite everything I've talked about here, I do rather enjoy existing, and I'm pretty into the idea of continuing to exist. And I just think about like Celeste. It's fucking cruel that when I die, the person she'd want most to comfort her is the person who's died. And of course, the level on which it hurts is indicative of how good it was, right? So it's like the thing where people tell you to be glad it happened instead of being sorry it's over, which in principle, I'm there, but in practice, it's really hard to see myself getting there. I mean, I probably should just make an appointment with my therapist, right? But the thing is, I'm coping at least mostly okay with it. I mean, aside from medication, which I guess might be a thing I could look into, all I can really do is figure out how to cope with this stuff. I can't just flip a switch and make my brain not do this stuff. I just have to figure out how to cope with it. And the good news is, at the end of the day, I do cope. I still get to spend time with my friends. I still have a super healthy, loving, and supportive relationship with my wife. And I still do well at my job and make money to pay the bills. I still travel and do conventions and talks. I still do the podcast. I live. And for the most part, I live pretty well. I just feel like there's been so much happening in my life, and I don't understand most of it. I guess I just needed to sit down in front of a keyboard and microphone and sort of throw it all out there. I've posted about pieces of this on Facebook over the last few days and weeks, and my friends have responded with sharing their own vulnerabilities and thoughts. And if you're one of those people, for real, thank you, because you're a part of the reason this talk here happened. I've been throwing it out in bits and pieces, and people have been so generous with their love and support and descriptions of their own experiences. I really and truly do believe that our stories and experiences are some of the most precious things we have to share with others. And it's an absolute privilege to have you share yours with me and to be able to share mine with you. So here's to staying stoked on life and knowing what to do and who to lean on when you're not. I love you, friends. Before I go, I want you to know that if you're lost, you're hurting, you're scared, if you feel like no one cares or no one understands, you need to know there's a community out here that loves you, cares for you, knows that you're capable of amazing things, and that you are worthy of love. If you're struggling, please don't be afraid to reach out. Until next time, friends, this is the Gaytheist Manifesto.